Hi everyone, in this video we learn about interpolation and extrapolation. And as you can see on the screen here, I've already set everything up for us to answer these two typical exam style questions. And if I quickly summarize what we already have here, we're given a table of data, which shows hours studied, which we're calling X, and test score obtained Y, and we have these values here. And this data has already been plotted on an XY grid here. Indeed, we can see these blue points that I've plotted for us here. I've also gone ahead and found this regression lines equation, which we can see written here, that is y, which equals to 5.4x plus 43.8, where y, remember, is the test score obtained, and x is the number of hours studied. So this model is used to predict the test score we can expect to get for a given number of hours studied, x. Last but not least, I also went ahead and found the correlation coefficient r, which as we can see here is equal to 0.95, which corresponds to a very strong positive correlation. Okay, so that's the setup. Now let's look at the exam style questions we have here. We're told, predict the test score obtained when the number of hours studied is 3.5 hours and 8 hours. Okay, well hopefully it's clear. To predict the score obtained, we're going to use the regression line equation that we have here. And so let me quickly write a little 1 here. There we go, as in question 1. And I'll go ahead and copy this regression lines equation, which is y equals to 5.4x plus 43.8. Okay, well to predict the test score y that we get for 3.5 hours of study, all we have to do is replace the x we have here by 3.5. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just write 3.5 hours. There we go. And now we can go ahead and write that y will equal to 5.4 times 3.5 plus 43.8. And now using our calculator, if we quickly calculate that, that's 5.4 times 3.5 plus 43.8. And we click on enter, and we're done. The test score we could expect to obtain if we study 3.5 hours is 62.7. And I'll go ahead and highlight that answer. There we go. Okay, now let's try and predict the test score we'd get if we were to study for 8 hours. And in a similar way, I'll write 8 hours here. There we go. And now using our model again, but this time replacing x by 8, this leads to y equals to 5.4 times 8 plus 43.8. And again, using our calculator, that's 5.4 times 8 plus 43.8. And I click on enter, and we're done. The test score we could expect to get here, according to this model, is 87. And again, I'll go ahead and highlight that answer. There we go. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, here comes the important part. In question 2, we need to comment on the reliability of these predictions. Okay, now here's what we need to know and understand about interpolation and extrapolation. Looking at our XY grid here and the regression line, as well as the points that I've plotted here, let me draw your attention towards the first point we encounter as we go from left to right. So that would be this point here, as well as the last point we come across again as we go from left to right. So that would be this point right here. Now, this first point is known as the lower pole. Lower pole. The last point, on the other hand, you may guess, is known as the upper pole. Upper pole. And these 2 points are important. In particular, if we look at their x-coordinates, so this x-coordinate would be right here, that's 1. And for the upper pole, the x-coordinate would be right here, that would be 5. Then these 2 x-coordinates correspond to the smallest and the largest value of x that was observed in our data. Indeed, we can see that the 1 is right here in our table, that's the smallest value of x we have, and the 5 is right here, that's the largest value of x in our table. And all the other values of x we have in our table fall between these 2 values. And put simply, when using this regression line to make predictions for the test score, it is only reliable for values of x between 1 and 5. In other words, we can only think of our model as being reliable for values of x that lie in this region here. And when using this regression line to predict values of y, provided we feed it values of x that fall within this interval, we say that we are interpolating. And to put things as simply as possible, interpolation or interpolating is reliable or safe. On the other hand, when we feed our model values of x that fall outside of this interval 1 to 5, in other words, if we feed it values of x which are greater than 5 or less than 1, then we're extrapolating. And put simply, extrapolating is not reliable. Indeed, since for all the observations that were made, the x value or input value we had fell between 1 and 5, that tells us that the regression line or the model we have here is only suitable to predict values of y for x values between those two values. But for x values greater than 5 or less than 1, it's simply unreliable or even unsafe to assume that the relationship between x and y carries on in the same way. So do keep that in mind. Now, to answer question 2, that was comment on the reliability of these predictions, we could simply state that the value y equals to 62.7 is reliable, since 3.5 falls between 1 and 5, and in fact we could write something like this. We could write that 3.5 lies between 1 and 5, so we're interpolating. And we could say y equals to 62.7 is reliable. There we go. On the other hand, for the second prediction we made, where x was equal to 8 hours, we could write something along the lines of 8 is greater than 5, so we're extrapolating here, And consequently, y equals to 87 is not reliable, And there we go. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of the terms interpolation and extrapolation. And remember, if we are interpolating, then the predictions we make are reliable. And if we're extrapolating, then the predictions we make are not reliable. And there we have it. There we go, everyone. I really hope that helped. And if it did, please hit like on this video, drop a comment down below, and even subscribe to this channel to help get this video to as many students as possible. All that being said and done, that's it for this tutorial.